Hey guys, welcome to another marriageability class where I want to help you guys get married. It's a terrible situation for you Westerners. No sex, no relationships, and everybody's pretending they're not interested as well, which is what you do when you give up. So me and Claire, as usual, I don't want long introductions. Claire is an agnostic person who thinks Islam should uh, take over the world so that its laws are implemented, and so you can have decent relationships like people like me and stuff like that. Me and Claire are going to have a fight. I'm going to try to convince Claire to give up her secular Quranism. I don't think women should be talking in public. I don't think they're very good at it. She should just give up and marry me. I'll tell her what to say. What do you think about that, Claire?
Well, I'll have to have a look at the marriage contract and
Yeah,
see
I'm,
if
I'm
it's.
not really. I'm not really expecting you to listen to me anyway. But it's just putting it out there.
What if
And
I accept? What if I accept? Then you'll be in
good.
trouble, wouldn't you?
No, it's good. Go for it.
No, no, is it?
Um,
Oh no, oh no, she's coming. She's coming to Jordan. What am I going to do with her? Where am I going to put her? Oh no, no, I'll escape from her and go to Syria. Oh my God, she's
I'm not
coming.
white. White people think like that. We'll just figure it out. Okay. So anyway, but people might be wondering, what's that got to do with feminists and stuff like that? I'll put it like this, just to give you an overview, very quick overview, and what's this got to do with Islam? What does the Quran and all this kind of stuff about that? So basically, the Quran says men are physically and mentally designed to take care of the world outside the home. Women are better at inside the home. There's tons of evidence. We will talk about that evidence in a bit. What's feminism or feminists got to do with it? Basically, the reason why feminists are angry is because they are basically trying to be like men. And trying to be something that you're not is always going to end up badly. If a cat tries to be a dog, whatever, that's just not going to work, you know?
Or a fish
Um,
try to be a bird.
yeah, why is that a special example?
Or
There's
a man try to be a woman.
exactly, that's a really bad idea, okay? So people think, oh, it's all the same, but that's just kind of so detached from reality and so detached from nature. Like back in the days, you'd be dead if you tried to do that, right? Okay, like a woman trying to fend off the lions, everybody would be dead, right? So you'd be saying, ah! And that'll be it. The lion would get in, everybody get eaten. Yeah, but just because we're protected to some extent, we can't see the trouble that cause. Like
Mhm.
people not acting according to their biology. Okay, our biology are very fine-tuned things. We forget about that. Yeah, look at your eyes, better than any camera in the world. Okay, but people like to be silly and debate things that are not even worth debating. Especially if you're an atheist. Um, so yeah. So should I start with why women shouldn't talk in public? Yeah. And by the way, I was going to say feminists just led the way, but loads of people like Claire have followed. Even though you're like an anti-feminist, you don't realize you're following it, but you like trying to be in charge and tell people what to do and stuff. That doesn't work. Okay. And I'll tell you one thing that, and one mistake you have, right, is the way you talk to people is as if they're like your children, right? Women are designed to only talk to their children, okay? And what that means is like, you do it, or I'm going to be angry and I'm going to screech at you and I'm going to be really annoying until you listen to me. So what happens on YouTube is people just meet you, right? They don't have to listen to you. And so let me just make that one point. Women can't communicate, and that's one of the reasons, because they communicate as if they're talking to their kids. That's how they're biologically built. And they keep repeating the same thing like a nag. A nag can work with children, but it can't work with grown-up adults who don't have to listen to you. What do you think about that?
Well, I think men also have to repeat themselves. I mean, like salesmen have to, so do politicians. I mean, listen to Trump. He has to repeat himself going from state to state to, make his point. So I think we all have to at some level. Um, I mean, if you're saying nobody likes my message, I would agree with you, but that doesn't mean I should give up.
Hmm. Sure. Okay. So spreading the truth, people shouldn't give up on it. That's true, right? And I've said it in a sort of what you shouldn't do, but there is a thing that women are better at, and I think that would be a more rounded way of saying. So, okay, so yes, the Quran actually says there is value in repeating ideas. Okay, repetition. There's a verse of the Quran. Do you know the verse of the Quran by any chance? Repetition is profitable.
I don't. It doesn't even ring a bell.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'll find it at some point if anybody cares, right? Okay, maybe I'll find it for you later on. But there is value, and that's how human beings work. You repeat ideas, it gets absorbed, it's built into
And
the psyche.
reinforced. As a teacher and tutor, you would know all about that. Having to repeat
Yes, so I'm a
yourself.
teacher, that's true. So that you repeat ideas and you repeat them in good intervals so that it gets absorbed, okay? Even ideas that you don't want to learn, there's a weird system in your brain that if you, it's the whole Goebbels, Hitler's, what's it called, propaganda minister. He said that if you repeat an idea, then I can't remember, a lie becomes a truth or something like that. You start believing lies, but there's truth psychologically in it because your brain stops building up the barriers to it. You start, like, you hear it and you think you've rejected it, but your brain started accepting it because you've heard it so many times. And that's why people accept so many dumb ideas, right? Just from repetition. So it's not that, it's just that you shouldn't do it because you're a woman, right? And the reason is that you don't seem to, you come more like sound more like a nagger because you're not really into listening. And the reason why you're not into listening and like adapting what you have to say so that it can be understood is because as a woman, you're designed to work with unreasonable people called children. You can't reason with children. You can't reason with a 6-month-old, a baby, up to a 2-year-old. That's what women are really good for. Dealing with that, like empathizing with really annoying little kids. Men can't understand, men will try to like.
But men have been infantilized. I think that is a problem. You can't reason with men either because they're not moved by facts or arguments. It's like they've decided they don't want to do it, and that's that. And
So we're
basically
not
they
trying.
challenge you
Oh,
to
sorry, go
make
on.
them
Say it
do
again.
it.
Maybe I missed something. Sorry, go on. I was interjecting too early. So you're saying something like white men, Western liberal men have become infants, infantilized, and therefore you're doing the job for them because they're so useless. Is that what you said? Sorry.
Well, I actually prefer them to be moved by facts and arguments, but basically they're not. So what can you do? But anyway, whether they are or not, you still have to repeat yourself, as you acknowledge,
So
as a
I
teacher and a
acknowledge, but
political
not you.
activist.
Not you,
Sorry,
because
what
you're
was the
not good
question?
at it. But you can be
I think
number
I'm
two.
reasonably good at it in the sense that people already know what I'm saying or have already heard it and they don't want to hear it again, or they don't want to, engage with
Like,
the
you do have some
arguments.
good ideas. Like, I listen to my wife every now and then. Sometimes she's got a good idea, right? So she'll say things in a perspective that a woman can understand or something like that. And like, oh, okay, every now and then. That's like every now and then. But men are just designed for that. They're designed to adapt to the modern world. So the world inside the home, very static for forever. It'll always be little kids are unreasonable. You got to breastfeed them, keep them alive, all this kind of basic stuff. Make sure they're not sick. So that's why women are really obsessed with cleanliness and all this kind of stuff, because they have to keep their kids, and they're all like, always unnerved if something's out of place. But being in the public sphere, you kind of have to be used to that. There's going to be this crazy person, that crazy person. Okay, so women just get too emotional in these public debates. They don't really absorb what's being said to them and adapt to it. But men are designed to adapt, because the outside the home, the world is always changing, rapidly changing. There's always changes in technology, whatever, right? So men are designed to adapt, just better at that. So what a woman's job is, and this is how women do the revolution, possibly in many ways more effectively than men, is to breed the next generation, control, nag them, whatever, until they're raised properly. There's evidence that I think somebody did a study. If you invest in under 5-year-olds, that's the greatest investment you can have. So I think we talked about it. Did we talk about it, me and you?
I
In a
think
stream.
so.
Yeah, so they did some sort of economic
They
study
should
in
be
the
looked after
government.
by their mother rather than dropped it at the creche.
Well, yeah, we talked about that as well. But generally, they did an economic study. They said if governments invested in under 5-year-olds, which sounds like a waste of investment, but actually, because they're the most adaptable and all the foundations are laid at that age, it's like that's gives you the biggest return on investment, the greatest ROI. So, mums are effectively investing in their kids by giving them time, nagging them, making sure they're doing all the basics like shaking hands with adults and saying yes please and all this kind of basic stuff, laying the foundation of the future, right? Okay, and everybody else is going to die out anyway. So everybody else's ideas are going to die out. All these liberals, they can scream and shout like feminists have been shouting and screaming for ages, right? Confusing people. But all they've done is created more feminists that are going to die out. So all their ideas are going to die out. All you have to do is keep breeding. And if you can't breed, then you can adopt all this kind of stuff and create good kids for the future. And also, a wife is a great number two. So they do say behind every great man there's a great woman. There is a ton of truth in that. For example, married men are far more successful in terms of making money than single men, right? Because they divided the labor. As the Quran says, men and women give each other comfort. So a single man is constantly depressed, looking for, hunting for sex and gambling and wasting all his money and all this kind of stuff because he's unhappy. So there's a lot of kind of things that won't give you the limelight, okay, but that's what really brings value to the world. So what do you think about that?
Well, I agree with you, and a lot of women would like to do that, but because of the way the economy is structured, they won't be able to find a man capable of supporting them and their children on one wage. So they have to go to work too. And
So that's not
what
true,
I'm
is it?
campaigning for is
So I made a conscious decision I told my wife after some experimentation, because I didn't know any better, right? And I didn't really read the Quran that carefully in my early days of my marriage, right? I let her like work a little bit. It was such a waste of time, her working, because the more she worked, the less I could work properly. I was like babysitting or something, and that just me, and I could earn 10 times whatever she earns. So it's such an inefficient use of time, right?
Mhm.
And any uncle, whatever, auntie in my family where that's happened, I'm trying to think about how much to say because it's turned out really badly in both cases, let's just say. But none of my family watch anyway, so I'll try not to say too much, but it was really, really bad, like massive health problems on top of the husband, and that's understatement, by the way.
Mhm.
Yeah, how can you get worse than massive health issues, let's say? Think about that. In terms of money making, always terrible, like completely inefficient, right? So there's studies on these really obvious things, and maybe it's good that we kind of had to restudy absolutely every possible idea in the West, right? But there's studies called, on the two income trap. That's what it was called, right? So you earn more money, but because of that, women spend most of their low incomes on what's it called, daycare, all this. That's a British word, the American word, babysitting, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And the children who are taken care of by these strangers who really don't care about them, they don't get picked up enough, so they're not developed properly. There's all these different things that it's just messed up, right? So no, that's just it's sort of a myth. It is difficult, but it's a myth in two ways, right? Firstly, is completely inefficient. Like, it's called division of labor. If you have two people doing the same sort of thing, it just doesn't work out. You're both going to do a crap job, and you're both going to get less money. You're just going to be unhappy. You're not going to have sex. You're just going to be miserable. You're going to be divorced. It's just not going to work out. Yeah, I can't remember the other point, but anyway, something like that. So it
Mhm.
just doesn't
Mhm.
doesn't really work. It's a myth. Oh yeah, and the poor people tend to have more children anyway. How do they manage? And usually, if I talk to my taxi driver friend or the dustbin man, whatever, over here or anywhere, right? Actually, I'm not sure if this is true in England, but it's definitely true here. They have more kids than the rich people. How do they manage? They manage.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, you can afford to accommodate and feed them. And if education is free, you probably could educate them at the local school, and that will do. But, you know, if you're middle class, you think of, oh, I don't know, piano lessons and holidays and university, and then you know, start totting up the costs and you think you can't afford it. But maybe it doesn't have, you know, they don't have to go to university. Maybe it's better that they don't go to
Yeah, actually,
university.
I think university makes you stupid anyway nowadays.
Yes,
I mean,
they're just centers
yeah.
for indoctrination.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what kind of indoctrination? First of all, it's mainly women who go now. Okay, and it's not because it's so sad that men are not going. What happens is men are just more practical. They know they need to make money, right? And and they know university doesn't get you a job. Like you get a degree, you've got no chance. Doesn't means nothing nowadays, right? Even if you go to a top university, I know loads of friends at the top universities, right? No jobs, right?
Yeah, that then becomes a sign of stupidity
Yeah,
that
it's a
you have a
sign of
degree.
stupidity and practical. Yeah, but women it doesn't matter. It's just like killing time, and it works for them better because it's designed for women now. Because just like school has become designed for women, which is sit down, shut up, write notes, do what you're told, write down in the exam exactly what you're supposed to write, and you get a pat on the back. And women love a pat on the back. They just need, like my wife, when we first moved to Jordan. I looked in the box, like we were just I was like, why is there so much crap that we're carrying, right? And then I was like, she has certificates from like nursery or something stupid, like that she'd done well. That's how much women care about, you know, being patted on the back. Like men just don't give a crap already, right? So they just practically they've got to deal with it. They've got to make money, otherwise they're not going to find a wife. So it's just all practical.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and they don't like being told what to do stupid things that doesn't make any sense. Like I remember basically hating programming and computer science, does my degree,
Mm-hmm.
by the time I got through it, because basically you had to, if you had any creative ideas, and men are more creative, they just think more divergent thoughts, right? The professor will be like, it doesn't agree with what I think is creative, therefore you get less marks. I'm like, that's the dumbest crap ever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make it's not a useful procedure anyway. So it's that kind of indoctrination, but it's also a subtle kind of indoctrination which harms women really badly, which is, oh, I got a degree now. I might be able to get a job which doesn't really pay that much, right? That's why there's a gender pay gap, right? But then like they think they've earned some money, and it's like, oh, they've actually achieved something. They've overvalued their own achievement. Like if a man had the same achievement, they'll think that's a load of crap. Like, what are you doing, right? But women are designed not to pay for other people, okay, like support other people. So it's just fun money, right? And they're really happy. I can go to a restaurant, I don't have to cook, and they become even more useless because they can't even cook, right? They're going to be good for nothing basically at the end of it. So, and then they're like really confused by that whole procedure, like of earning a bit of money, and then they expect the man to have double whatever they're earning. And I don't know. I mean, I could go into it, but like it's the hypergamy thing where women expect more, but it
Mm-hmm.
just really does screw with women's thinking when they go through the whole thing. I recommend women shouldn't go to university. I do recommend education, like the first Islamic university, the first university ever was made by some lady called Fatima, I think, in Morocco, right? So it's not like Islam doesn't care about education. Islam loves to, like there's saying the Prophet Muhammad, like if you educate your girls, you'll go to heaven, right? But going to university is not education anymore, right? It's indoctrination, it's stupidity, learning crap and not understanding. Like women generally don't enjoy what they're learning. They just they like my big daughter, like she hates learning, but she works really hard at it because she just doesn't want to look stupid, but she hates the learning process. What women should do is learn stuff that's actually valuable, and the best place to learn that stuff is from their husbands. So the husbands have got, so in Islam, the verse that I will link or have linked in, so check out the description. There's one main verse that basically talks about the role of men and women. The word for men is Gawam. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right? But it's like the guide, the caretaker, all this other kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Protector. Because just men are more logical. They understand the wider world. They understand the wider issues and stuff like that. Women really don't care. Like sometimes I'm explaining stuff to you, and you'd be like, "I don't know what you're talking about." That's because mentally you got filtered. Like you don't want to know certain things, right? So women are generally not interested in politics, the wider world, all this kind of stuff. You might have a bit more interest than the average person, but there's always a spectrum. But you're nowhere near like a man, right? Um, so yeah, so a man has got his wife's best interest at heart and will teach her the things that she needs to learn, and the husband effectively takes over from the dad sort of thing. So according to this word Qawam, whatever it is, basically it says
Guardian, it sounds like.
You are the guardian because you pay the bills. So when you're the daughter in the family, you listen to dad because he pays the bills. But when you get married, who pays the bills? The husband. So he's your guardian now. Thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got your best interests at heart, and he understands the world a million times better than you do. And you are going to specialize and do an amazing job of being a good mom, and everybody's going to live happily ever after. And everybody else are going to live miserably ever after. So cool. So let's answer. Should we answer Tayo's question about indoctrination education? You want to go first?
Well, indoctrination is filling your mind up with propaganda, and education is really giving you truth and logic.
Okay, so Tayo's going to say that's just a perspective. It's true. That's a perspective. That's why we have God, so we don't have to work everything out from first principles. You could work things out effectively from first principles, which is let's measure what makes you happy, like ideas that make you happy. If they make you miserable, more stupid and self-destructive and not have children and kill the human race, we call that indoctrination, not education. So that's my idea. That's my explanation. Would you disagree with that? Agree with that? How do you feel about that answer, Claire?
I think it has to be grounded in it being A, true, and B, being logical as well as moral. And I think these three things have to go together. Otherwise, you might be doing something that is logical, but it's also evil. So it's like, I don't fancy having children. They are expensive and it's hard to find a good partner. So I won't bother because it sounds too much trouble. And it would be logical to think like that.
I think it's illogical. I think there's a limit. There's a limit to that logic. But if you go to the extent that the human race is going to die, so there's a counter logic, then I think there's a limit to that logic, basically. It's a very limited logic. And so some people might say, oh, evil and good are just opinions and stuff like that. I do think, so the Quran says that God decides on what good, God says what is good and evil, not based on, but the effect of good and evil is that whatever is good for you, and what is evil harms you. So if you look at the overall value or effect of something, you can see logically, it's called logic, okay, look at the effects, that's logic, okay. If the overall effect is bad, like the human race will die out, then that's called evil, okay. And if your overall effect is you're going to be miserable and alone and without the children, that's called evil. Okay. The only difference, what you're saying, what you're calling logic is short-term logic, short-sightedness. Would you agree?
I'm not. I mean, I did say that not only has it got to be based on truth and logic, it also has to obey the standards of morality, and I would say the no-hide laws. And this brings us to the question of, is idolatry evil? And then I think, well, Christians, do have a question to answer, and it seems that Jews and Muslims don't particularly want to ask Christians this question because they don't want to offend them. And I think idolatry can easily be shown to be evil and cause a lot of suffering in the world, as it is now in the West. Because if you're an idolater, it means making up the rules as you go along and pretending that you trust your ruling classes to make up the rules as they go along, which is what they've been doing for quite a while now. And this thing is called democracy.
Yeah. Okay, so one mistake I made right from the beginning was I didn't say the first question that we're answering, which is the nature and purpose of marriage. So from all that stuff we were talking about, men doing their job and women doing their job, and it all works together if you do your job, which makes, that has the most positive effect, not evil effect, all this kind of stuff. That's what is the nature and purpose of marriage is working together as a team with the correct division of labor for the benefit of society and the benefit of the individuals involved. So you create greater happiness. Would that be a decent summary of what we've just been talking
Yes,
about?
or at least replace yourself when you go.
Yeah. Okay, so creating a better future as well. Fantastic. I love that. Yeah. So that's also in the verse of the Quran, a verse of the Quran that women, liberals hate, because it says men, something along the lines of men should go into, have sex with their women like if they are fertile soil, to sow their seeds, and they're so terrible. But actually, they see it in the wrong perspective. It's like Muslims are told to grow fruit trees and all this kind of stuff, to create things that will be left behind so that birds and animals and human beings benefit from the orange tree or whatever it is after they're dead. They should do that more so with kids, right? And there is a greater meaning to that, sowing seeds with your wife. For example, women learn a lot from their husbands kind of experience, and they adopt it slowly, right? And so even
And they learn a
ideas,
lot from being a mother and wife.
yeah, definitely, yeah. When you like, a man does really well by focusing on his area of expertise and getting really good at it and becoming really successful. That's why husband and wife relationships work so well. That's kind of part of this whole idea of marriage. It's like effective use of each other, using your natural urges to come together. Biology is telling you to get together because it works better, because we are two separate shoes of the pair. Jawaz is the word in Arabic, which means one pair of the shoes. Like, you don't have two left feet, you don't have two right feet. If you're on two right feet, you're just hopping and you're really ineffective. You get tired and you collapse. That signifies single people. But married couples get a lot further in life, way more effective. Shall we whiz through some of these comments? So we've done what's indoctrination. Stephen, hey man, thanks for commenting on my video the other day. We had a good chat. Cal is totally dunking on Claire. I think dunking means having a fight with you, which is what we planned in the first place. Yeah. What was it? Who decides? Come on, let's click on that. Who decides what propaganda? I decide. God decides, actually, more so. We answered that already. So your definition of education propaganda promotes the survival of the species. That is one metric, one logical metric, but a far higher metric is the really long-term, infinite long-term view, which is the development of your soul as a good human being. I'm sure, Tayo, you understand that spiritual idea. Lol, Khalid, basically telling Claire that no one will listen to her ideas on secular grounds because women are stupid. No, I said women are different and incapable of public discourse, but that's a Western translation, because Westerners only value, male roles. Westerners, because they're mostly interested in materialism, and men are better at making more money, and that it requires being out in the public and all this kind of stuff, whatever. What Tayo said, without him realizing it, is he basically said he only values male roles. He's become a liberal. He doesn't even realize it. So you need to be a stricter Christian, Tayo. You're going down a slippery slope. So, but that's the problem with his version of Christianity is basic liberalism. It's like he can't stand for anything. He can't be like, this should be what you should do. He's like, no, you could do anything you want. And then that's why Christianity is dying. The watered down version completely falling apart because it stands for nothing. It's an empty self-help book. It doesn't tell you anything.
I mean, it's
So yeah,
basically merged with liberalism. Christianity has merged with liberalism until they're
yeah,
now indistinguishable. That is a problem.
yeah, and that's why they're dying out. No kids. Like Tayo, no relationship, no marriage. And then this is the problem. This is what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to get people over the crappy lies and telling themselves that, oh, I don't believe in, I can't have, sex. I'm too serious. I've got too many important things to do. Like, nah, your ideas are going to be dead with you. You're not going to have any kids. You're going to be alone. You're going to be miserable. You're going to be real, you're going to be an old, depressed, lonely person when you die, and you're going to be dying in your feces in old people's homes. That's probably what's going to happen. And I rather that doesn't happen to you, Tayo, because you're a nice guy. But just it's good to hear the harsh truth so you can think about it. Women being emotional again, absolutely. Women are emotional, and by the way, it's fantastic. Women are emotional, okay, because men being like, if everybody was efficient and mechanical as men, life wouldn't be worth living. Like life is not about just solving problems until you get to the end. It's kind of like women kind of take a pause in that. They could redirect things. And it's like they'll go down a different spectrum of ideas and stuff like that, which is cool, right? Because men don't actually want to be efficient all the time. That's not the whole point of life. Oh, man being, I don't know. Ooh, man being emotional also. Yeah, there are men who are just emotional and we're trying to get them. So it's not like a men shouldn't be emotional at all. Like as long as you're doing your role, that's really important. I always give like examples of people here. Like I won't repeat too many examples I've had before, but like people are really masculine here. Like they play loud music and it's really, military music and but at the same time they're really like express emotion like I love you, oh I remember your name. They always remember my name. Everybody remembers my name, and I'm always trying to remember all these different shopkeepers' names. I'm really terrible because they really care about like who you are, where you're from, and all this kind of stuff. And they'll be like, oh look at those flowers and it's wonderful, isn't it? That like they're not shy and they kiss each other in the cheeks. Like they'll kiss you 10 times on this one cheek if they really like you or something like that. The other day I was on a bus and like somebody bumped into me, like, and I didn't really react. It's like whatever, right? And then he just gave me a hug and they started talking to me in Arabic and like, saying nice stuff. I didn't know what he was talking about, but I got the gist. You know what I mean? So it's like these people are really tough, but they can express themselves emotionally. But it's not helpful expressing yourself in a public realm, okay, which is the men's realm, right? If you're going to be more emotional than logical, you want to be mostly logical because that's how you get information out quickly and effectively and affect people's minds. If you're just getting emotional and angry, that doesn't help. So, it's disappointing, Tayo. Just gay. That's all you can come up with. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of gay people in Jordan. That's another interesting thing that's coming up because they've gone away from Islamic values, and we can go into that at some point. But yeah. Okay, cool. So that's the nature and purpose of marriage. We've spent like over half an hour on that. There's a lot more I could say about that. There's like the effectiveness of men and women in the public sphere. You just compare restaurants with home cooking. Home cooking is tailored to the individual, is something special. Restaurant cooking is like literally military stuff. I mean, you must have watched who's that guy who's always saying effing and bliming all the time? Ramsay, right?
Yes, Gordon Ramsay, yes.
Gordon Ramsay, right? That's like chef cooking. That's not normal. There's a difference. And like, what does he? I love business, so he's always like reducing the menus. Like, what can be cooked really fast, right? So that's what men are good at. But do you really want that at home? No, I don't want a set menu with limited deals so that can be cooked in 5 minutes, and make as much money as possible. That's not what it's all about, you know. So everybody's got different roles, different reasons for doing things. Anyway, how to be marriageable. I'm just going to say I've only got one sentence because I kind of covered everything in the first section. But anyway, do not be a broken woman, which happens when she tries to be a man. So if you try to be, you're going to be a broken woman. You're going to be useless, basically, to everybody else. Like, you're going to be. So I'm trying to be as rude and direct to Claire as possible because she understands where I'm coming from, right? Not to be mean, but it's kind of like, you're going to be annoyed. You're going to be, oh, why they're not listening to me? But like, a man knows they're not going to listen straight away, and it's a long game, and I'm not going to get emotional. And that person was rude. It's like, I don't care. A man doesn't care, right? And then you're going to be like, if you go to the feminist extreme, it's like your whole life becomes that, and everything else gets put on one side. This is the biggest reason why women don't have children. I'm not really going on at you at the moment because you've had your child, isn't it? Whatever. The point is that the number one reason why women don't have children is because they plan to have children, but they get so obsessed with their career and they're so unaware of their own biology that they don't realize, like, once you hit 30, you're old. Okay, there's only 50% chance you can even have one kid. You can have more kids if you had kids before because you use your reproductive system. It's not dying. It's like any muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? So by 40, it's like finished. I know lots of Arab people here, like, they have kids after 40, but that's because they've been having kids right from the beginning. Even actually, they have kids, they have a gap for like 10, 20 years, and they still have kids after that. That still works. But if you don't have any kids up to that, like, your system's dead. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Like, to be marriageable, don't try to be a man.
You have to want to marry. That is, to be marriageable, you have to A, want to marry, and B, somebody has to want to marry you. That would be
sure. The problem is,
the very basic
I think
conditions.
most people still deep down want to get married, right? Even if they claim they don't want to. Oh, I don't want to get married. Like, yeah, you do.
Is that what he says?
Yeah, isn't it tired? I'm going to get married. And he's saying gay as well. You probably end up gay after this. I'm not joking. You probably end up gay, right? So that's what's the reason why there's more gay people being made, let's say, in Jordan at the moment, is because this kind of like moral collapse that's already happening. And what that is that it kind of like happened maybe, I don't know how many, maybe a decade ago. Like, people started saying, oh, I want more, I want a car, I want a house, or whatever, or some standard was set, right? Which is not Islamic standard. Islamic standard is have expected little as possible, spend a little as possible on weddings and all this kind of stuff, right? And just get married, right? Like, in the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, people got married in their homes. Now everybody gets married in hotels and stuff like that, right? And then they expect, like, have to have a furnished house, a car. Cars are extremely expensive in Jordan, stuff like that, right? So because of that, and salaries are so low, that's never really going to happen, right? So people would end up having girlfriend and boyfriend, and some people don't want to do that. And then it's kind of like, it's so difficult even to have a girlfriend, because the girlfriend's like, it's kind of like, I could explain the detail of the inflation effect, but like, the girlfriends expect more and more. So there's loads of men who can't do that, so they just have basically homosexual relationships more and more. It's like becoming really common now. Like, I went on Tinder, looking for the second wife. Could talk about the whole kind of process of that. I got loads of like gay men hitting on me as I just closed the account. It wasn't very useful.
Really, on Tinder, or were you on Grindr?
No, it's Tinder. I don't even know what Grindr is or something, but yeah. But I mean, so there's a whole different discussion. Yesterday or the day before yesterday, I asked one of my neighbors' dad. I approached the dad. I said, here's a letter. I don't speak Arabic. Read this. I want to marry your daughter. And he said, okay, let's meet next week. So he said, we'll see how that goes.
Oh, so it's this week coming. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. We can make a series about that. See how that goes. And it's kind of like there's a whole psychology behind it. What's the mindset? Like, what am I expecting? Just if she says yes doesn't mean I say yes, all this kind of stuff. It's like, we have to make sure that it's kind of a viable relationship.
Have you met anyone so far? I mean, have you actually sort of met
No,
a prospective?
so this girl, an 18-year-old girl, she likes me. I'm quite sure. So we're neighbours in the village house. So yeah.
Right.
So I met
Can
her.
she
Yeah,
speak
we know her.
English?
It's not like we had. Sorry.
Can she speak English? This
Yeah,
neighbor
her
of
English is
yours?
very good. So her English is probably like amongst the best in the village or something. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, it's not like we had loads of conversations. It'd be like, oh, there's some dogs. Like there's a lot of dogs all around, and we're making a dog house. The mum would be helping, and and they'll be giving advice, and we just had a few conversations. And the way I measure things, but this is a whole different stream, and maybe it's kind of part of how to be marriageable and stuff like that, is what I wrote in the letter was stuff like, your kids take care of animals. So in Islam, it's a really valued, a moral value. And the reason is because and this has been shown in kind of psychological studies, how you treat animals is how you treat human beings, right? And there's loads of advice that Prophet Muhammad has about treating animals. Like even when you kill animals, no other animal should see the other animal being killed or herd being killed. There was an example of there were some Muslims who were really hungry and they picked up some birds' eggs to eat them. And Prophet Muhammad saw the sparrow going round and round in circles making noise, and he noticed that bird was in distress. And he said, "Who's taking this bird's eggs? Put it back." Right? Because you're distressing the animal. When you kill or eat from an animal, you don't distress it. So there's loads of stuff. And so, like, I don't know, have you heard the evidence that one of the kind of evidences of a psychopath is that they harm animals? Do you know that one?
Yes, and being cruel to animals is the first signs of psychopathy, but just
Yeah. So that's
inflicting
kind of one
pain
of
for
the,
them. Yes.
yeah. So that's one of the things I listed. Maybe he understood why, but it was enough for him to say, "Yeah, I'll see you next week. Let's talk about it," kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So see how that goes. Okay. So how to be lovable. Broken. So this is an important thing. People are very interested in just being lovable, but I don't think it's important just to be lovable, but to be lovable to the right people. Okay, so actually that's not what I wrote down in my comment. I said broken women are confused and angry. Nobody loves that. That is why Western women have given up on Western men have given up on Western women. So okay, maybe we'll stick on that. So we're talking about feminists, angry feminists. Nobody really loves angry feminists, right? Because they're all
Well,
miserable, and the
nobody
reason
loves anyone who is angry and bitter and accusing, because an angry person will is obviously angry because something bad happened, and then they'll just be really suspicious and then accuse you of stuff that you haven't done, because they've been betrayed before, and they just assume the worst about people.
yeah,
And of course, it's
highly.
damaging to be accused of all kinds of things you're not guilty of.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Western
mean,
women have.
I know people who
Yeah, go on.
accuse me of things. I mean, it's, well, a bit annoying, isn't it?
Say again.
I know people who accuse me of things that I think are, you know, not not justified. Then you think, that there is this sort of hurt people kind of thing. And you make allowances for that, but then you think, well, I wouldn't accuse you of something without good evidence. I would just sort of go crazy and accuse you of all kinds of things, but
Yeah. So if you're what we might describe as a broken woman, somebody who's deeply unhappy, then, like you said, hurt people. So you're going to take it out on other people. You're going to take it out on yourself, because women generally take things out on themselves, through self-harm. But I'd say definitely they take things out on other people by, what's the word? Like sabotaging the relationship in billions of ways. Like they'll I know, have
yeah,
sex
they
with a
repeat the same
stranger.
pattern of behavior that caused their previous relationship to fail.
Yes.
Like, because sometimes you have this situation where you cause the thing that you fear, by constantly expressing your fear and accusing the person that you love of doing this thing until eventually they do the thing that you fear.
100%, because there's
Because you
actually
put
evidence of
the
that.
idea into their head.
There's evidence of that now. So they say the people who are constantly fearing that their marriage is going to collapse, their marriages collapse. The people who don't think they're ever going to quit, they've committed 100%, there's no way out, those people's marriages stay. That's the traditional, the traditional mindset. Okay, anyway, shall we whiz through some of these comments? I like the input. So you got Rune, Miss Claire ought to eat some lox. Lax?
I have no idea
I don't know
what
what the hell
he's talking about.
that would be. A wonderful. I don't know. Nobody knows what she's talking about. Okay. Vincent Bruno mentioned that ginger. Okay, nobody. I don't know. Do you know what he's talking about?
Grindr. He's talking about it's a gay man's app that I think Tinder was based on.
Oh, really? It was based on that. Okay. Based, Khalid. So based means direct and whatever. Spreading Dawa anti-feminism. Yeah, I'd say so. I would consider myself a feminist, though. I would say Islam is the most feminist religion. We just got the most messed up idea of feminism in the West. Like everything is backwards in the West. Okay, so what is feminism? Is anti-feminism. Like, basically, feminism is go out to work and work for a man that hates you, called your boss, and not your husband who you're supposed to like you. And that's the only way you'll find happiness. Success is being better than other people and competing against your friends. So you end up with no friends and you're never ever happy because that goes on and on. So it's the same with feminism, Western idea of feminism, like we've already talked about. It's the Islamic idea of feminism is women are gentle. For example, Prophet Muhammad said, like, where there was a woman on, I think, either probably on a camel or something, riding on a camel, like probably in one of those, nice chariot type, whatever it is. And there's somebody pulling the camel really fast. And the woman, the Prophet Muhammad said, be careful, crystal, be careful of the crystal, meaning crystal as in crystal glass that is beautiful but easily shatters. So we treat women completely different. So if you're in a bus in Jordan, it's completely disgraceful or it's rude for a woman to be standing. Like on certain buses, more of the traditional buses rather than modern buses, which have got all these different compartments where people can stand and they get really busy. But on some of the traditional buses where they don't have proper bus stops and you sit on a rock waiting for the bus and all that kind of stuff, you definitely, for basically the long journeys, right? You definitely don't have a woman standing. It's like too much of an insult, right? A man would definitely get up. It's just normal, right? And they would even have like, on the more modern buses, if they got a sort of conductor kind of person, the old conductors, the extra person, I don't know, doing something. It'd be like, girls, there's seats for you in the back. Girls, for you. Like, I wouldn't say men, like, screw the men, you stay standing. And men got more energy, they can stand, no problem. If there's an old man, respect to the old man, you'll get you a seat or something. But otherwise, like, girls, back seat to the back for you, all that kind of stuff. So that's real feminism, treating women like women because they're weaker, they're whatever, more delicate, treat them differently. That's it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's real feminism, not the West messed up version. Okay, shall we move on to the next part, because we're going to try to make for the. Yeah. Or do you want to say something about more how to be lovable?
Well, I mean, it's just good manners, isn't it? And normal shows of concern and empathy for the person that you want to like you. I mean, people are just attracted to nice people rather than nasty people, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, that's very true. So there's a book on Seduction, and they're like all these amazing books. I would say amazing books. Actually, what amazes me is that there's so many things that are basic human behaviors that people have forgotten. So the key idea of seduction and just gaining power over other people and all this kind of stuff is asking questions about them. Like, I've always done that, right? Just like what you do is you ask people about them so they can talk about themselves, so they can feel connected and listened to. That's a basic human thing, but most people don't give a crap. They're not even interested in other people, so they don't even do that. So to be lovable, give a crap about other people. Ask about them. Be interested in their day. Really be interested. If they say something, you don't go, you ask a follow-up question and you dig and you want to know more about them for their sake, and they'll feel connected and they'll like you. So that's it. Really easy. So
Yeah, be a good listener.
a good listener. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Which
Okay.
is
So
probably even more important than being a good talker, because most people enjoy talking about themselves and they want to be listened to.
yes, 100%, 100%. That's a massive problem. It reminds me, I've just been watching a lot of quotes or video clips from Fight Club, and there's a famous, well, there's all these little things. There's like most people, and it's a very Western thing because people don't give a crap about each other. Like most people are just waiting for you to finish your sentence, and so they can say what they want to say. Do you mean they're just going to say they're going to say whatever they're going to say? Doesn't matter what the hell you said. So a typical, really good
It's really
example is how are
annoying
you?
if you if you tell them something really important and then they say something that is nothing to do with, the important thing that you thought you said. They were just waiting for you to finish talking so they can, tell you their thing.
Yeah, and we've come to accept that because that's like the typical "how are you?" Like they don't actually care that you're feeling crap. Do you know what I mean? They're like, you have to say, you know what? I know deep down you don't give a crap about me, so I will just say I'm fine. That's it. Let's end that bit. Do you know what I mean? Just a procedure. Okay, which is really sad. How to and by the way, it doesn't have to be like that. Over here, when I'm talking to all sorts of strangers, people tell me exactly what they feel. They don't. They say exactly how they feel. Really honest about it. So maybe we could talk about that at some point. But anyway, how to make government help you be marriageable and stay married. What did I say? Do not give women special treatment at work. Okay, so this is it. So I talked about this whole slippery slope, women going to work and basically creating a really inefficient workforce, so and then they kind of they get obsessed with the tiny bit of money they have, okay, or the crap job that men don't want to do anymore, because that's what's happened to teaching and lawyers and whatever. You just have to be like a monkey, just writing, spending hours creating stupid documents of stuff that nobody gives a crap about or something, just that kind of stuff that nobody wants to do. Women are doing those jobs, right? And then, of course, they're going to be miserable and stuff. So don't make it easier for women to there's two ways you should not give preferential treatment to women, right? One is the quotas, like, not enough women in engineering. Yeah, don't have women in engineering, okay? Let them compete fairly, right? Otherwise, we're going to have collapsed buildings, people are going to die, not going to be good, right? Okay, or in reality, what's going to happen is a man's going to have to fix it or something like that. Well, I don't know what is going to happen. Like, basically, if you have, like, this is typically what happens. Women just not interested in, like, post-puberty, yeah. Women stop liking or having a real interest in, engineering, computing, all this kind of stuff. I know people are pretty good at it. Women, I'm teaching a university student, but she doesn't like it. She just does it to pass the degree so she doesn't look stupid at the end of it, right? Okay. So if you have the mindset where you don't give a crap about it, and men actually enjoy working out, doing all this kind of stuff, right? I enjoy what I do, right? So if you enjoy what you do, you're going to do a really good job. You're going to be creative. You're going to create amazing products, amazing bridges, all this kind of stuff, right? But if you have this quota system, you're just going to get the worst of the worst, and people who shouldn't do the jobs doing the jobs, you're going to have bad results. Okay, but also there's kind of this whole maternity leave, like, so just because you're having a baby and somebody should do your job for a year, that's really expensive. Like, so who's going to do your job for a year unless they're going to do it for double the rates? Something that's really ineffective. You shouldn't have the job in the first place. Men should look at you and go, you're probably going to have a baby. I'm not going to give you the job. That's it, because it's not effective. It's just not effective. Why should I give you any special treatment? So basically, zero special treatment when we know women will basically have jobs, because it'd just be pointless, right? I am thinking of how do you make sure, and on top of that, you got to have a moral thing. Like I do think women do really lots of really crappy jobs that halt or slow down. What's it called? Technology, like they like till people and all these low level jobs that nobody wants to do. Right? They're usually even in Jordan now. They're just standing around like selling, giving freebies or being, well, I don't know.
Leafleters or something.
Yeah, or something stupid. They usually do stupid
Low
jobs.
skill jobs.
The lowest mind-dumbing jobs there are, and some robots should do that kind of job. It's not fit for a human being. Much better should be learning how to cook. It's a really useful skill. And people think, oh, cooking is not all you. Do you know, like the onset of the whole destruction of the environment started from people not cooking and frozen foods? Have I talked about that? Can you imagine how that works?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but
so
yeah, it does make sense what you say.
Do you know what monoculture is?
Everybody having the same thing, eating the same,
So if you have miles and miles of lavender, that's really bad for the environment, the soil and everything, right? But it's also bad for the bees. That's why they're dying out. And bees pollinate 70% of the world, right? But how did all this industrialization of food happen? Okay, before people were what we call locavores, they would have their own halls, they would cook their own stuff and they'd get the food and cook it and whatever, there'll be a mum and whatever. But then when you industrialize food, you get crap from all sorts of places. You have to wrap it in plastic. You have to do all sorts of inhumane, I don't know, whatever, poison it with all sorts of pesticides and all this kind of stuff, right? And this whole industrialization is incredibly bad. Really, like 1/3 of what antibiotics go to cows to keep them going. Do you know what I mean? You heard of that kind of stuff, right? 1/3, or is it half of antibiotics in the world go to cows that are reared to be killed, to be eaten because we eat so much meat. 1/3 of water in the world is used to keep them going as well, the same livestock and all this stupid statistics, such a waste of transporting food and growing food unnaturally. Just start from people not cooking. It's I've done the whole videos on it. Maybe if anybody's interested, I can go give you a video of the whole history of this guy who accidentally chronicled this thing, right? So he wasn't really saying like women shouldn't go to work, but he started, the story begins with this, and it was he didn't realize what he was doing, and he chronicled it like, it starts from women not cooking at home, bang, bang, bang. I'll send you the video. I think you'll like it, right? And he didn't know what he's doing when he's giving this whole talk. He's talking about like real food, basically. So yeah, people think, oh, cooking at home is no big deal. It's everything. People have no idea the domino effects of these things. Anyway, so no special treatment. What do you think? No special treatment, no quotas, no maternity leave, or special whatever, anything.
The repeal of the Equality Act 2010.
Yeah, simple as that. Yeah. I call it Equality Act a Discrimination Act. Why? How is it equality if women are treated better? Doesn't make sense. So
or the Thought Crime Act, because basically they're saying it's illegal to discriminate against, and it's like, well, it's a mind thing, isn't it? You just decided you want to hire a man rather than a woman, or a local rather than a foreigner, or whatever it is that you want to do. And they're saying it's illegal. So it really is a thought.
So there's an actual law that says. Let me just whiz through some of the stuff. Why is it taking long to click? Baron, who is your PFP? Okay, no idea what you're talking about.
I was talking to Baron Ari Cobb.
Ms. Claire, during your years with the British National Party, did you hate Islam all the time? Yes. No, who cares? Do you regret it now? Also, you left. You are left unmarried. Those times were wasted with a racist era. Go on, respond to that.
Well, I did respond in the comment below, and obviously.
Oh, okay. Let's see that. I didn't hate Islam as BNP member. I didn't join the BNP to get married. No, what she's saying is what I'm telling you. Stop being an activist. Stop talking in public. Women shouldn't talk in public. Just get married, and you will be more effective. Either adopting children or having more children. I don't know if that's possible, but
No.
so adopt
I
children.
really don't think anybody is doing what I'm doing. Nobody is even
No, they don't need you.
talking about the
Seriously,
things
Claire,
I
it's all
talk
right.
about.
Claire, don't
So
worry. You're basically trying to support the fastest growing religion in the world. You've got really, I mean, you're helpful to me. That's good. But otherwise,
no,
you're not.
I'm glad. I'm
Otherwise,
glad. So
yeah,
otherwise,
yeah. But otherwise, you're not needed. Don't worry. You can be somebody's wife. You'll be better off that way.
well, I don't exactly see a queue of suitors.
Well, I've offered, but you're going to have to give up secular
Now you're
crimes and
looking at
wear
an
a headscarf.
18-year-old. You've just said
Sorry,
on this stream.
sorry.
You just said you'll be looking at an 18-year-old. How can
Yeah,
I
I can get 4
compete?
wives. We'll see. We'll see if the. I mean, I have to negotiate with the 18-year-old if if it all works out and all this kind of stuff. She'll have to agree with all my terms, her terms, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
But then if she's on board, as they say, then I'll have to negotiate if there's any more to add on. Yeah, so interesting. All right, cool. So that was supposed to be how to make government help you be marriageable and stay married. My
By
summary is
adopting Sharia, right? I mean that's
again.
where we're going, isn't it?
Yeah, Sharia. Implement Sharia. That would be the wider answer. But I always try to give like a micro answer, like a different answer each stream. Otherwise, we're just repeating the same stuff. It's not very exciting. And reality is Sharia is so massive. There's no point just saying Sharia. Sharia, for people who don't know, it's just a bunch of guidelines that Claire said should be made into law, and I recommend it to be. There is an extent to which they can be put into law, like being kind, saying peace be upon you when you meet, loving your mother more than your father. You can't enforce these things. Giving food to your neighbors. You can't really enforce that. It'd be really weird if the police came out and said they go into your house and say, "Look what you're cooking. You could share half of that." That's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? So there's some of this thing called Sharia law, like whipping people that Claire's really into.
Unmarried parents.
Not all people, just people adulterating, whatever you call it.
Fornicating, having
Fornicating.
illegitimate offspring.
Yeah,
Just to
all
show
that kind of.
disapproval.
Yeah.
Just to
I'm
make
all
a
for that.
point.
I'm all for that. I think, but the whole Sharia thing is a massive package, which a lot of kindness and morality and fear of God that can't be put into law as well, and that's essential as well because the law can only do so much. And Islam realizes that. That's why it has all these weird laws that actually can't easily be implemented. For example, I think the law for adultery or fornication needs 4 witnesses. That's not going to happen unless you go to the extreme in doing pornography, right? So that will end pornography at least. I mean, that's
Yes.
serious. That's what I mean,
Yes.
right? That's the
Yes, of
idea.
course. Yes, it was him. Yes, it was her. Look.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
recorded. Bang, dang, yeah. And then they'll start all these dumb women who are they go like, I say dumb women. Women are easily. So one of the comments I made or points I made in my description, do check. I mean, my document is that women are halfway between men and children, right? They look like children, they're weak like children, they're emotional like children, so they can be tricked a lot more like children. If you go to a shopping place, all the salespeople are always hitting on the women because they're easier to persuade, right? I mean, and they're all going to be polite and all this kind of stuff. In the same way, women are doing all sorts of like OnlyFans. You see, have you ever seen that? Whatever. It's called Whatever Podcast or something, and you have the dumbest women who think it's like a proper job to be a OnlyFans person, like showing off your tits. Do you know the
I
what?
didn't know that. No, I
You
haven't
don't
watched
know?
that video.
They always get these OnlyFans or prostitute kind of people, right? And there's
Hmm.
these one or two Christians who think they have some sort of idea answers, right? Okay, they're just insulting OnlyFans people. It's the easiest thing to do, right?
Hmm.
But those women, they're so overwhelmed by the money they're getting, they don't really think about the long-term, harm that it's going to cause. So yeah, just don't don't go down that slippery slope of getting into jobs and stuff like that. Okay, cool. We're 4 minutes over. Do you wanna say anything to round up? I thought that was pretty good.
Well, one of the things I thought I might discuss with you was why are men angry with feminists? I mean, would that have made a better title?
Why are men what?
Angry with feminists. Would that have made a better title
Yeah, that's a great
of the
title. Maybe that
stream?
could be the next. Why can't that be the next title? Like there's one stage. There's two separate questions, aren't there? So one is like women are angry. Why are they so angry? Why are feminists so angry? And why are women become more and more angry, right? Because they're trying to come as properly feminists and they don't realize it, right? Because feminists have set this really dumb standard that it's better to go to work than be a housewife. Like that's the dumbest standard ever, right? But people don't realize it because it's been normalized. That's one question. And then the second question, why are men angry then with feminine or women? Was it feminists or women? Feminists,
Feminists, yes.
right?
Mm.
And generally women, because all women in the
Most
West
women are feminists these
they've
days
become
because that's
feminists.
how they've been indoctrinated into becoming by the
Right.
school and the
That's a whole
culture.
different question. I mean, we could touch on it really quickly. It's something like when you're angry, you're actually angry with yourself, right? You're angry that you've limited yourself to prostitutes, basically, or people who have had sex with 100 different people. Right? You're not going to go to Muslim women. You're not going to go to brown women. You're like, I'm a total racist. I'll only go to these women who have had sex with 100 people. Okay, so you're kind of angry with yourself by limiting yourself to that kind of thing. And of course, you're angry with your whole very difficult situation where there's no marriageable people. If you try to have a relationship with a broken woman, she's going to have sex with your best friend. All this kind of messed up stuff because they have no morals, no standards, which is called liberalism. So, and also you're angry because you just don't know what to do. It's like you're just frustrated. Like, I don't know. I don't have religion. So I got this thing called liberalism. Do anything you want. But I don't want to do anything I want. That's the dumbest self-help guide ever. I don't want to do anything I want. I want to be told what to do finally with an actual solution. But at the same time, I don't want to be told what to do because I've been indoctrinated to believe that I need freedom to do anything like a frigging monkey or something. I don't know, in a jungle. You know what I mean? Like, no, you don't. You want to be told what to do deep down. You just want the answers. That's what a self-help guide is. So that's why men are really angry. But we could probably, I think that's a really, should we do that next time? Or was there a plan for
I
something
think
else?
so, because I think that would be more male
But why do we
orientated.
mix it up? I feel like one thing would be like, I want to kind of get into the practicality and people could give some comments, right? So the testosterone levels in men are going down. And my theory is what you don't use, you lose. So men are becoming like more like not actually using the bravery in anything. They're not going up to women. They don't have any point in their lives. And why should I try? It's so hard. And then they keep lying to themselves that they don't want sex, which is like counter their very design. Okay, so it all stops working. So people who don't understand what you don't use, you lose is like if you don't use your muscle, it stops working. So maybe a sort of a whole discussion about that and how to encourage men to be like men, define their roles so they can feel like men, and maybe even like how to chat up women or something along those lines so they actually feel like men. Like
Yes, and things that men mustn't say. There's a whole list of things that men mustn't say,
yeah,
and I
like
don't think a lot of them even know, not to say it,
yeah, they don't know what to say anymore. It's like, should I say that or
or
shouldn't I say
what
that?
not to say.
Yeah.
Because if they blurt it out, it's like, well, you're not going to be looked at twice.
So I'm thinking of a title or something along like, why are white women? Okay? You can let's go through the titles, guys, in the comments if you want. I'll give a really bad one, really rude. Why are white balls shrinking? What do you think about that?
Have Western men lost their masculinity? Is Islam the only way to restore Western masculinity? Yes, let's be provocative.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they'd understand that one, my one, but your ones make more sense. But it's kind of like, but yeah. So, guys, any thoughts? People laughing or something, or sweating? That's good. That's good. It's a good reaction. All right, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Do
basically saying, men have to have principles to be attractive to women. Because,
yeah. So
fundamentally, well, women want, a meal ticket. They want him to be ideally, kind and reliable and a good husband and a good father. But obviously the minimum conditions is that he should be, stronger than they are and, wealthier than they are. But, yeah.
Yeah. And if they're told there's no difference between men and women, the men don't know that they have to be strong and protectors and all that. But when you make that clear, black and white, so let's talk about that, and then we'll come back to why men are angry with women. But it kind of like, I don't want to make it too. I don't want to sound like crybaby stuff that the white people talk about. I'm angry with, like just being angry doesn't help. Do you know what I mean? But we can say in a productive way. But let's go back to why men are angry later on. But we'll focus on kind of the emasculation of white men. Cool.
Because they
All right,
don't have a religion.
Yeah, so we basically give them some answers. We'll give way more answers, way more details. It'll be good fun, good conversation, I think, next week. All right. Thank you very much, Claire. Really appreciate your time, even though I don't think you should be talking in public. All right.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.